Haruto thought his story ended when he died in Japan, but nope, plot twist. He wakes up reborn as Ryo, a dirt-poor kid in a fantasy world. Even wilder, Haruto's memories fuse with Ryo's, turning him into a sword-swinging, magic-wielding prodigy overnight. Things kick off when he saves a kidnapped princess and scores a scholarship to the Royal Academy, only to face non-stop bullying for being an orphan. But Ryo's got bigger goals than dealing with stuck-up nobles, like finding his mother's killers and piecing together his own mysterious past. Along the way, he meets allies, travels new lands, and a nerd named Haruto Amakawa. He's standing outside his house, about to move from the suburbs to the city. Pretty normal, right? Well, not for his childhood crush Miharu, who bursts into tears begging him not to leave. Train shows up and isekais the whole squad. Because of course, why just have a bus accident when you can get transported to another world? Suddenly, we meet a sweaty, smelly orphan kid named Ryo, who wakes up in a completely different place. Poor guy reeks so bad, people want him 6 feet away at all times. But here's the weird part. Ryo's head is suddenly filled with Haruto's memories. He's like, wait, who even is this Haruto dude? Why am I dreaming about buses in Japan? What's a bus anyway? His brain is basically a cluttered mess of 2 lifetimes worth of memories. Eventually, Ryo's like, okay, fine, I'm Ryo, the slumdog kid. But man, this Haruto guy won't get out of my head. Things don't get easier. Ryo's tragic backstory kicks in. His mom was murdered by some shady assassin, and ever since, revenge has been his only motivation. While he's brooding about this, a group of noble ladies waltz up, asking if he's seen a missing purple-haired princess. Ryo's like, nope, haven't seen her. Also, please, stop mentioning how much I smell. One of the girls, Vanessa, is a total snob to him, but her friend Celia apologizes and treats him like an actual human. They eventually sense that Ryo has some insane magical power hidden inside him, but shrug it off and leave him with a bag of silver coins as thanks. Just when Ryo thinks he's having a decent day off, a pink-haired spirit girl pops up like, yo Haruto, let's tag team this. I'll teach you magic real quick. Suddenly, Ryo remembers some martial arts skills from Haruto's memories, and he busts out some insane moves, absolutely wrecking the assassin. Turns out, our smelly orphan is secretly cracked at magic and fighting. After the dust settles, Ryo finds out that the brown sack in the room actually contains the missing princess, Flora. She explains she was kidnapped for ransom, and Ryo agrees to help her back to the castle. Sounds heroic, right? Yeah, except when they get back, everyone accuses Ryo of being the kidnapper. No one listens to his side of the story because, well, he's a poor slum kid. So, they arrest him. Enter Charles, the king's stuck-up commander who hates commoners with a passion. He absolutely trashes Ryo in prison, beating him nearly to death just for fun. But plot twist, Princess Flora wakes up and clears Ryo's name, saying he's actually her rescuer. Celia rushes down to heal him and chews Charles out for being a jerk. Once Ryo is patched up, Celia tells him he's getting an audience with the king himself. The boy who smelled too bad to sit at the table is now about to meet royalty. Ryo rocks up to the Beltram Royal Academy of Magic, sporting a fresh haircut, finally ditching the whole stinky slum kid vibe. But Celia, his genius 1-2-year-old professor slash bestie, warns him, listen, dude, everyone here's rich, snobby, and ready to bully the life out of you. Ryo? Cool as ice. He just shrugs like, I know my place. It's fine. Spoiler, it's not fine. The moment Celia introduces him as that kid from the slums, the entire class starts whispering like it's the latest gossip column. They basically don't want Fleaboy anywhere near them. The only reason he's even in is because the king himself said, yeah, this kid saved Princess Flora. Let him in. But respect? Yeah, Ryo's not getting any of that. Plus, he can't even read properly, which makes his first day even more brutal. After class, Ryo visits Celia's office for tutoring, and let me tell you, her office is like a nerd's paradise. Books, scrolls, complicated diagrams everywhere. She's only 12, but already a professor, which is anime's way of saying, no matter how smart you think you are, there's a child out there flexing harder. Still, Ryo impresses her by breezing through math problems, thanks to Haruto's college brain lurking in his head. They sip tea, while Celia checks in about his first day, and Ryo basically says, aside from the bullying, spectacular. The next day is martial arts class. And this is where Ryo gets to show off. The instructor notices he's built different and asks him to duel. The other kids laugh at Ryo's weird stance, but the instructor's like, nah, this kid's onto something. And thanks to Haruto's kendo skills, Ryo puts on a solid performance. He even gets offered a spot in the Royal Knights, but he turns it down because he's got bigger plans. Fast forward a bit, and it's exam season. While everyone else is stressing, Ryo's burning the midnight oil with his nose buried in books. Celia tells him to chill, but of course he does the opposite. During the test, his classmates classmates are sweating bullets, but Rio's basically speedrunning the exam. He finishes top of the year, tied with Princess Christina, while her buddy Rona grabs third place. Naturally, Alon, the Academy's bully, throws a tantrum, accusing Rio of cheating. Christina, Rona, and Celia shut him down, but Alon storms off with his Backstreet Boys entourage anyway. Jump 5 years later, and Rio's chosen for the super prestigious exhibition tournament. Alon whines about a commoner being included, but the instructor tells him to suck it up. Celia congratulates Rio and teases that he might get scouted into the Knights. Rio, still not interested, he's planning a journey to his mom's homeland, Yagumo. Celia's low-key, sad but hides it behind tea and smiles. The tournament arrives, and Rio's first opponent is none other than Charles, the same scumbag knight who beat him half to death years ago. Charles is salty, furious, and juiced up on pure ego. The fight starts even, but when Charles overcommits, Rio disarms him cleanly. Victory! The crowd goes wild, Charles sulks with his drinking buddy Rias, and rumors start flying again about Rio's past. Meanwhile, Celia waits at the gate to celebrate with Rio, but then she spots a girl confessing her feelings to him. And just like that, our genius professor is hit with the one emotion she didn't expect: jealousy. Celia's still reeling from that little green-eyed monster moment she had when she saw another girl confess to Rio. She tries to shake it off and focus on work, but later she finds out Rio's got zero post-graduation plans. Like, nothing. Bro's just vibing. Not long after, the school holds this big lecture on magic control, where the teacher busts out some flashy lightning spells. Alon the Brat Prince, snarking that it's too easy, and only Rio would find it useful since, you know, he can't use magic. Classic bully move. Celia, though, she's done with this kid's mouth. She tells Alon and his buddy Stuart to demonstrate. They throw out some discount Chidori nonsense, and Celia's like, cute, let me show you how it's actually done. She closes the blinds, summons a storm, and fills the room with lightning that dances around before bursting into sparkling lights like she just put on a magical fireworks show. Everyone's jaw hits the floor. And Rio, while he can't chant spells like the others, he's got so much raw mana that he can copy anything he sees. Basically, he's got hacks turned on. After class, Stuart congratulates Celia, but then corners Rio, accusing him of seducing half the female population. Newsflash. Bro, they're just into him. It's not Rio's fault. You've got the personality of soggy bread. Stuart tries to intimidate him, but Celia steps in, vouching for Rio and telling Stuart to back off. Then comes the outdoor exam. The students have to trek through a forest and reach their destination by sundown, with Alon as the commander. Spoiler, his dad gave him a secret map to make sure they win. Rona calls it cheating, but Christina shrugs and lets him do whatever. Meanwhile, Stuart sticks Rio with baggage duty, because of course he does. Flora offers to help, but Rio politely refuses because chivalry. Things get messy fast. They run into goblins, but surprisingly, Alon shows he's not completely useless, ordering the vanguard to power up and smack them down. But hidden in the trees is Rias, watching Rio with curiosity. He's impressed that Rio spotted him lurking. Suspicious. Anyway, Alon's little shortcut turns out to be a dead end at a cliffside. Before they can regroup, a squad of orcs ambushes them with spears. In the chaos, Stuart gets injured and, panicking, shoves Flora, sending her off the cliff. Without hesitation, Rio jumps after her, catching her mid-fall. Meanwhile, Alon finally manages to rally the group and fend off the orcs. Stuart? He denies everything and accuses Rio of pushing Flora. Rio's done with all this nonsense. He decides it's time to dip and start his journey early. But Flora? She refuses to leave him for dead. Before anyone can argue, the forest shakes with a roar, and a minotaur drops in like a boss fight nobody queued up for. Christina's thunder magic flops, and Alon takes command again, but the minotaur bulldozes through their vanguard. Christina and Rona retreat, thinking Flora's safe, but she stayed behind to heal an injured student. Big mistake. The minotaur finds her, but then Rio makes a dramatic comeback, slicing its hand clean off. He tells Flora to scram and goes toe-to-toe with the beast, using his spirit powers. Despite the size difference, Rio absolutely dominates, finishing it with a clean head chop. The others rush back to grab Flora, but Rio uses the distraction to slip away. Rias, who's been watching the whole time, realizes Rio's black hair and eyes mark him as a descendant of Yagumo. Back at school, Celia overhears the headmaster and Duke Gustav plotting. Because they can't afford to anger the nobles, they decide to blame Rio for the whole mess. Celia's heart sinks, but before long, Rio shows up in person. He thanks her for always supporting him and admits he wouldn't have survived the academy without her. He promises to write letters under the alias Haruto. The two share a heartfelt embrace, and Celia, though sad, tells him she'll be waiting. Rio takes one last look at the kingdom before setting out for Yagumo. But the nobles aren't letting him off that easy. Gustav hands one of Rio's cloaks to a beastskin assassin named Latifa, ordering her to track him down and kill him. Rio bolts out the kingdom gates like he's late for the last train, and in just 3 days, the dude manages to reach Ammon, a buzzing little market town in the kingdom of Galar. Lucky for him, his wanted, black-haired squared boy posters haven't made it here yet, so he can actually shop without the medieval version of the FBI kicking down the door. He stocks up on supplies like a responsible traveler, though he does get that creepy someone's following me vibe. But nah, he convinces himself he's just being paranoid. Classic main character gaslighting himself. While wandering around town, his attention gets hijacked by a street vendor hawking some pasta dish. Turns out the local ruler, Lisa Lottie, brought spaghetti into the city like she's some culinary queen. Rio digs in, gets his stamina bar back to full, and the vendor points him toward the Merchant Guild, conveniently located next to another food stall. Priorities, right? Inside the guild, Rio meets a receptionist named La, who immediately clocks his black hair but doesn't freak out. Instead, she helps him pick out preserved food like a pro. She even notices his oddly refined tea manners, like this kid moonlights as a tea sommelier. After a little chat, Rio writes one final letter to Celia, breaking the news that once he leaves this region, he won't be able to send her updates anymore. With a heavy pack and heavier heart, he sets off again. As he leaves, another receptionist calls La by the name Lizotte. Turns out she's rolling under an alias. Back on the road, Rio finds an injured person lying dramatically in the middle of the path. Being a decent dude, he goes to help only to get ambushed with poison needles. Moral of the story? Never help NPCs in RPG worlds. His attacker is Latifa, a beastkin assassin with some seriously fast moves. They clash, but when she pulls out her knives like she's auditioning for a slasher film, Rio switches tactics and fights barehanded. He eventually slams her down WWE style and has to knock her out with a weak sleep spell because she's hysterical. That's when he notices the collar around her neck, a slave collar. He breaks it, and suddenly, Latifa breaks down crying with relief. Turns out she's a tragic mess. She was enslaved by none other than Stuart, who made her call him Big Brother. Yeah, creepy as hell. Free now, but broken inside, Latifa clings to Rio. He tells her to head east where beastkin live free, but when he tries ditching her, she follows anyway. Crying, she even offers him the slave collar, begging to be his just so she won't be alone. Rio, with a mix of pity and annoyance, lets her tag along, but makes her chuck that cursed accessory. They travel together, and Latifa gets emotional over her first proper meal in forever. Later, Rio realizes she might be like him, a reincarnated soul. His suspicions are confirmed when he overhears her dreaming about Tokyo. By morning, she outright asks to call him Big Brother, and he agrees, figuring it'll help her heal. The duo treks through every terrain, possible lava zones, icy mountains, grassy plains like their speedrunning Pokemon mystery dungeon. Eventually, Rio spots a giant magical tree only he can see, which screams plot device. But before he can investigate, a campfire flickers out and he runs into a wolf. Rio goes from peaceful forest camping trip to magical interrogation by a squad of demigirls real quick. 1 minute, he's chilling by a fire. The next, blinding light explosion. And he's surrounded by 4 very different but equally intimidating demigirls. Uzuma, the harpy bird brain with an attitude, Sarah, the wolf girl, loyal but savage, Alma the dwarf, short but deadly, and Oria, the high elf, aka the elegant one who always looks like she's judging you. Naturally, Rio's like, yo, I can explain, but trust between demi-humans and humans is basically non-existent. Sarah manages to convince the squad to at least hear him out, but before Rio can plead his case properly, Oria and Alma snoop into his tent and find Latifa snoozing away thanks to his sleep spell. Uh-oh, now it looks like Rio's running some shady kidnapping operation. Uzuma, the harpy hothead, decides words are overrated and just yeets herself into battle mode. Rio's flailing to defend himself and yelling, "Misunderstanding! Misunderstanding!" But it's no use. Alma locks him down with some earth magic, Uzuma zaps him, and down he goes like a bug under a fly swatter. Poor guy doesn't even get a fair trial. While he's unconscious, Rio has one of those cryptic dream chats with the mysterious woman who taught him how to use his spirit powers. She basically drops in, says some sweet words, and then poofs out again like a bad Wi-Fi signal. When Rio wakes up, he's shackled in some random room. Not exactly the 5-star treatment. But then Latifa bursts in, super worried about him, and snaps at the demigirls for hurting him? Cue awkward silence. That's when Ursula, one of the village heads, steps in and smooths things over. She apologizes, scolds the girls, and even makes them kneel down and say sorry like kids caught stealing snacks. Rio finally gets free, and Ursula promises the elders will give him a proper apology the next day. Fast forward to the morning, Rio's escorted to the Hall of Elders. Along the way, he spots the massive glowing world tree again, the one only people with sharp spiritual senses can see. Ursula drops the bomb that the tree houses draws, the guardian spirit, and that Rio being able to see it is a huge deal. At the hall, Rio meets the other elders, Sora the elf and Dominic the dwarf, who bend over backwards, apologizing and thanking him for freeing Latifa. They're even like, "We'll grant you anything you want. Power, riches, maybe even one of our daughters?" Rio's like, "Nah, I just want Latifa safe, and maybe to stick stick around for a bit. Simple man, simple request. Oh, and he also wants some lessons in spirit arts, because why not? That's when Dross herself shows up in all her shiny mystical glory. She scans Rio like he's going through airport security and discovers something wild. He's got a dormant, human-shaped spirit living inside him. And those? Yeah, they basically went extinct 1,000 years ago in some divine war. Translation: Rio's carrying around a walking miracle in his soul, making him VIP level important. The elders freak out and immediately start treating him like royalty. After that, Rio gets a cozy new home in the village. Except surprise, Oria, Uzuma, Sarah, and Alma are moving in with him. Ursula insists it'll help Latifah form bonds with others instead of clinging only to Rio. He's not exactly thrilled about having a whole harem of roommates, but he goes along with it. Turns out, the village also has rice. Yes, actual rice, which makes Rio feel a little closer to his roots. Weeks fly by. Rio studies spirit arts, helps out in village life, and even participates in a big spirit festival under the world tree. Meanwhile, far away, his old enemy Russ is out here doing shady business, snatching up a mysterious egg from a cave that's supposedly going to boost his Celestial Lion Brigade's power, but as they fly off, a massive shadowy beast starts trailing them. That's the end of the recap. Let us know if you want part 2 by leaving a comment in the comment section down below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to avoid being virgin forever. See you guys in the next video.